is we can now talk about volume, because volume does have a significance. Again, if you remember, and I'm really good at drawing these pictures, which I'm actually getting a stylus so I can do it. But when we deal with volume, that definition is when something's bought, or I'm sorry, sold then bought. So it's a transaction. And so I always talk about cars. So if you got a car right here, you know, and this guy's driving it, and he doesn't like it anymore, and he decides to sell it to someone, and then another guy buys it. So here's another guy, he wants to buy it, he's got cash, he's got dollar bills. So when a car is transferred from one person to another, so if it's sold to someone then bought, that's considered one transaction. So the volume would be 1. And then if this guy doesn't want it anymore, and then he finds another person, so he is selling it, this person's buying it, that would be considered 1 volume. So if you wanted to say, well, kind of like with Carfax, how many buyers are there? Each time something was bought and sold, that is going to be 1 volume. So just remember again, because volume also has their own little candlesticks or time frames. So remember, whatever your time frame is set at, that's going to be what you're looking at. So it's just really important to remember. So I think I'm probably going to show this every time we talk about stuff. Lowercase m's minute, hour, day, week, WK is week, uppercase M is month, Y is year. So again, anytime you're dealing with a candlestick, let's get a little better candlestick going. But anytime we have a candlestick, again, excuse me, fill this in. You know, that's going to be one unit of data. So if it was a 1 hour chart, this would be 1 hour's worth. Oh, well, hello, puppy. So kind of just going in, let's just dive right in. So these technical indicators, they're a little bit different than the ones that we've shown before because they're still on the chart. It's just they're histograms, which is a bar. Just some of them are sideways, so it gets kind of weird when you look at it at first. But then once you start seeing how it kind of plays with how everything is working when you look at the candlesticks for the price, then you can put everything together. So when we talk about that, the first one I want to talk about is volume by price. I really like this one. It's a nifty indicator that's on the graph, and it just basically shows the volume of the security traded at the price and then at how much. So, and I'll show you the example, but kind of when you get the idea of it is you're going to see a bunch of different lines, and these lines, let's do that. So, oops. So you're gonna see a bunch of different lines with different sizes, and that's gonna kind of dictate. Well, it's gonna follow the price kind of when you look on the graph, just how you would look on a candlestick chart. And so, kind of the strategy with that, and I'll show you in a second. But kind of the strategy is it shows you the largest amounts of buys versus sells at a certain price, and then it helps determine your enter and exit points. So it's similar to Bollinger Bands. I'm sorry, yeah, Bollinger Bands, but it's not because it tracks volume, not price. But they are going to look relatively similar, and I'll show you an example on that. But first, let's do this. So also note, some brokers don't have this option. So if I look at WeBull, I couldn't find it when I opened it up. Stocks. So when you look at your indicators, that's the kind of the bad thing is, you know, like WeBull is a really cool.
No, it's on WeBull.
It is.
I see it on under indicators, all indicators, and then even under the main chart, I see VWAP.
Well, that's volume weight average price. This is
sorry.
This is volume. This is volume by price.
All right, I'll shut up.
Yeah, no, you're fine. It's all good. So, So I'm going to show you Schwab's first because Schwab does a really good job on their volume by price. So it can have different names. So I'm using Palantir just since I've always been using it. But so again, the strategy, it shows you where the volume is at. So even though it kind of overlaps, but that's kind of cool because it can show you kind of the gravity of the situation. No pun intended, because volume or mass, you know. But when you look at this, is you see these bars, okay? So you see a green bar and a red bar. Other brokers, it may just be a bar, but I really like how Schwab has it because it can show you kind of the difference between, well, if you think about it, remember, green would mean how many were bought, red would mean how many were sold. So this is Palantir, and I did the 1 day, the 1 day chart, and this is charting 81 days. But here's where the strategy is. So when you look at this, when you look at these bars, is I'm just going to look at this bar right here. This is telling you is, you know, volume of stock bought, and then this one, and I'll change that thing, is volume of stock sold. Oops. So what that kind of means is this bar is larger. Now, the one problem with some of these, with this indicator, is it doesn't give you a clear picture of like how much volume it is. But if you look at the differences between all the others, this is a lot of volume. So the strategy with volume by price is you kind of want to look for where there's the most volume occurring. It doesn't matter if it's bought or sold, but you want to look at the large amount. And then Josh Mason asked, just joined, what indicator? This is volume by price. It's not to be confused with VWAP, which is volume weight average price. This is volume at price, or volume of price. And so again, what this indicator is telling is this bar right here is kind of telling you a lot of people bought. And if you just kind of go over to where the price is a lot of people bought Palantir, or this histogram part, bought at roughly 39 to 70. So if we look at this one right here, and I'll kind of draw a little thing, let me do a different color. I'll do purple. So if you just follow it, you can see that a lot of people purchased it at 38. There was some action between the bulls versus the bears at this one, kind of roughly at 36. There was more people that bought than sold at this price. There was a sell-off at this price. But these guys right here, this is what we're going to focus on. And then Daniel asked to the order book. That could be it. I'll check it out after I kind of explain the strategy. Because, again, I don't use WeBull as much, so I don't know if that's the indicator. The one thing with this one is it's kind of finicky because it could be called different things with different brokers. But it's a really good tool to kind of give you an idea on kind of where the price action is. So when we deal with the strategy, is if you look at these three right here, these are a lot larger bars. These actually combine all these other bars put together. If you were kind of like to stack them up all together, I bet you it matches to one of these. So what this can tell us just by volume alone, not by the price, is that the most stuff that was occurring was within these three bars. And I know I kind of covered a little bit about zones on older classes, but this can give you an idea of your support and your resistance. So the example is this, and I'll do red right here. There was major sell-offs compared to buy-offs at this sector right here, all this. No, that's a bad color. Let's do this. In this zone right here, there was a lot of volume. Okay, so it's called price volume distribution. Okay, cool. So yeah, they call it, it's different stuff, but and if you guys need help, trying to find out what this indicator is, then we can work together through Facebook DMs or whatnot. But so since there was a lot of volume on this could be a general indicator of where there will be a support and a resistance. So again, support's going to be where it hits where there's a major sell-off, or it's hitting a zone where a lot of people want to buy, and then your resistance point would be where a lot of people want to sell off. So kind of going back, and I'll delete these. So this kind of goes into drawing trend lines, which is something I'm going to be talking about probably not next class, but possibly Wednesday. But what you can kind of do is trend lines are kind of showing where a stock is generally trading. So if I were to actually draw on my chart, let me get to, so I'm doing Schwab, and I'll show you what it looks like on Thinkorswim because it is a little bit different. But let me, why is it not? Oh, draw. So support line. So what I can kind of do is, if you see right along there, I drew my trend line right at the bottom of this bar, but look at what happens. That actually is a really good support line that I drew, because see, it opened right here, but then it closed right there. It kind of dipped below that, but it went back up. Yeah, it's been trading up. It attempted to hit these again. So again, remember when I say testing a line, it means it hits the line, but then either goes down past it or it goes above. So, but it has tested multiple times the support line. So the strategy with this, the strategy is, if you want to get into Palantir, so it has been above this $22, and I just drew this. So again, no one's going to be perfect on it, but I drew $22.39 for my support line. So it may be where, if you want to look at Palantir again, you have to understand too that we could be in a correction period, so this could completely change. But if we were living in a perfect world where things just kind of just go up and down between a perfect society, LOL, you may say, hey, I may want to get in when it hits near this support line. Now, let's say you got into it. Okay, so I still would look at my volume by price, and I would draw what would be called a resistance line. So again, resistance is where it's kind of hitting right where, right where a lot of people would sell it, and then it goes back down. So it's kind of like where it tests it. So even just by drawing my price by volume, or volume of per price, whatever it's called, that's why I don't know what some of the stuff. I could say I just drew where this stock will kind of trade in. Now I know this is data that's archival, so it's in the past, but it still is following some of the rules even to the last couple weeks, which is kind of cool. So if you see, it has tested that line that I drew multiple times. Oops. Now, yeah, that's a bad color. So yeah, it hit it. It tested it. Then obviously it went through. So if you can see, then this was the GameStop craze, this stuff right here. So let me actually label that so you guys know. So that's kind of why everything was all over the place. So GameStop craze. So that's why. But see, after now, the GameStop craze has kind of fallen. Well, it's still around, but it has tested it multiple times, that resistance line, and then also it's tested that support line. So again, it's just another nifty tool that you can use. Now, will this be perfect? No, it will not be, because you will have to then readjust every day, or you can just keep it. What's nice is it keeps it. So these actually can auto draw on other brokers. But for Palantir, it's nice because there's littler amounts of data, so it kind of looks a little bit nicer. But again, that's kind of the gist on how you would use this this indicator. So Fidelity calls it price volume distribution. Order book, maybe in WeBull. I can pull it up real quick, and I'll show you what Thinkorswim looks like in a second. But while I look up WeBull, are there any questions on kind of like that strategy? Again, it's just a bar that's showing you where the volume's at the price. That's kind of what it just generally is. It's just the the bigger the bar, the more the volume, which means there was more trading at that level, or I'm sorry, at that price. So you're talking about now price and volume. So again, volume is how much it's been trading, and then also it includes the price. So let me look that up real quick. But if you guys have any questions, why don't you just type that up in chat, and then I can read that while I look up this indicator. So it's order book. So all indicators. So if Daniel's still here, how do I get to that?
Yeah, so I think it's different than what you're talking about, but I was hoping that maybe you could help me understand the like how to read it very well. I think I can read it, but I'm not sure. So it's actually a widget. So if you get out of indicators and go to the widgets,
how do I get to that?
If you at the top of your chart, let's see, are you in the desktop or are you on the website?
Yeah, no, I'm on the desk, or the software.
So there should be like yours is different than mine for some reason. Let's see here. Where is yours?
How about I'll let you find that, and I'll show you how it looks like on Thinkorswim, because the one thing that's nice about Schwab is it gives you the colors. But let me show you what Thinkorswim looks like. I don't have Fidelity, so I can't pull that up for Jason. But when you use this, again, they're just bars. They show you the volume. My strategy would be, if you look at the largest bars, that's going to give you an idea of where your support and resistance would be. So likely the largest bar you see, that would be a good support. I'm sorry, a good resistance. And then when you go below it and you look at the bottom, kind of the largest one, even you could still put, and you can move these. Again, everyone's a Da Vinci when we do this stuff. And what I mean by that is no one's going to be perfect. Everyone's going to think they drew the perfect lines. It kind of is not like that. Sorry, guys. But, obviously some people are a little bit better. But it's a good way to see support and resistance. Let me show you Thinkorswim. So again, we'll just use Palantir again. So for studies, add study again. All studies. And this is, what was it called? Shoot, sorry, guys. I wrote it down. It is, nope, that's not it. What? See, I got confused just by talking to myself about it. All studies. Oh, this one's called volume profile. So see right here, this is a little bit different. It's different because these are still histogram bars. It's just, it looks kind of clunky because you don't have the red and the green to kind of show you the buy or the sell. But you can still see, and you can still apply the same process. Now with Thinkorswim, these bars get pretty technical because these are in dollar. But you still apply the same strategy. Look for the largest bars. That can help you draw a conclusion. So when you look at these bars, they're a little bit different. But see, what's kind of interesting is when you look at these bars, you can see it. Just forget about the these numbers right here, but you can see how it slowly is gradually declining. That can be a way to show you your support and resistance. But let me, so if I were to draw, oh, and then for Josh was asking, where's this indicator on WeBull? I don't think they have it. That's the thing that kind of sucks. And I was trying to get VWAP to work. It seems that WeBull is having issues with their volume indicators. I don't know why. I don't know. I'd have to look into it. But again, if you see now, I was saying before with Schwab, you look for the largest bar, but those bars were they were added together. But with Thinkorswim, it goes slightly smaller, but still you can kind of see, okay, and I'm not even looking at price. I'm not even looking at these bars. I'm just looking kind of like this whole little thing. But if I look and see here, okay, there's a big bar down here at 10, but that was when there was a lot of trading volume at that price. So we can ignore that. But what you want to kind of look at is just kind of the general area. And so this is kind of getting you practicing into what are called trend lines or areas. But you can see the price of Palantir mostly from the last, since November, has been within this range. But if you see right here, so this is kind of like getting a little bit more mathematical, is there is the most volume right here on trading. There is some, there's a lot, but it doesn't tell you like the amount, but it's slowly declining, then it shoots all the way down. So if I were to actually look at what would be called a trend line, I would draw kind of like right here. It can be, you can have it all the way up here or whatnot, but when you start looking and seeing the prices, you're like, okay, this doesn't look realistic. But right here, if you see, and this is kind of going again with the trend line, there's my resistance, because it started to, it still has what you would call momentum, or there's a lot of volume, but then it really kind of shot down from there. So again, and this is kind of a very similar drawing that I put on Charles Schwab. Same thing with this. Okay, there was a lot of volume. Now it's slowly going down. So again, you can just pick, excuse me, you can just pick, but I mean, I kind of drew one where it was around right here. So I would kind of look where the bar is going to be on the opposite side. And so if I were to draw my support line, there you go. Make these a little thicker. Can I make it thicker? Yes. This is why I like Thinkorswim. I think if you guys starting to figure it out. So that's kind of how you use this indicator. It's a little finicky. It makes the charts look kind of weird. But also Thinkorswim, they have their own, they added their own little, what I did, they add the price and stuff to give you a support and resistance. But you don't have to use their zone, because they kind of fill the whole zone of where it's been trading for the last 60 days or something like that. But as of right now, realistically, Palantir does not look like a resistance at $38, because Palantir right now is at $23. Well, it's at $24. Oh, it went up. It went up $1 after hours. That's really cool. So and so if you see, it kind of, I was near that that resistance line, and even after hours, it's trading. So like right now, yeah, see right there, huge shoot up. So if you guys got into Palantir during the day today, and it holds, then that's pretty good. So I went back into the 30-minute. So you can do the day. The day's the best way to do it. If you're going to day trade it, then yeah, go to like a 5-minute or 15-minute, or even an hour, just to give you an idea. So you can see as I go to the hour, Thinkorswim has redrawn the support and resistance lines. So now, if you remember, I drew my support on Schwab. what did I get it at? 22.39. It's calculating it at right about $23. So that's really cool. I got pretty on point. These numbers right here, those that is the volume at the price. So that's telling you how many trades occurred within that specific time, or I'm sorry, that specific price range. That's the one thing, like I was saying before, it's really, really finicky because like you just see like a blue blob. But yeah, so I just kind of wanted to show this to you just so you can kind of, I'm trying to put a seed in your mind. That way, when we start drawing trend lines and things, you can use this also to help draw your trend lines, and then you can become a master trend line or a Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Donatello. All the good artists in that. I know it is kind of a weird thing, but before we go on, are there any questions with that? Because it does take time. How do you know which charts should you look at? When you say that, what do you mean? Like time frame? Because I just chose Palantir. You can look at anything. I mean, just throw a stock out. We can look at it, and actually, it would be kind of a cool thing. I would prefer daily. If you want to do weekly, that's fine as well, because then you can get kind of a good idea of where it's trading the weekly. That goes on like what your trading style is. So if you maybe want to hold it for a couple of days, do the daily. If you want to hold it for a week, set it to the week so you get an idea. Excuse me. If you're dealing with a stock that has more data than like Palantir, so like if we wanted to look at Tesla, see Tesla, there's issues with this because of the stock split, but you can see, it's most of the trading was during this in terms of volume. So what can that also tell you? Well, think about it. If these are little bars compared to a lot of bars, Tesla is being held. And that's also kind of when we talk about, if there's low volume and the price movement is really large, that can be an indication not really manipulation, but kind of where the market wants it to go, then to do a buy-in or a sell-off, which kind of stinks. A good example would be with like GameStop. That's why the meme is like, diamond hands, hold or hodl, or all that stuff, is because they didn't want to sell. That way it prompted, the not the market makers, but the big guys that are selling the large blocks, why there's low volume compared to, where it has been before. Tesla, that's a bad example for Tesla. Let's do Apple. Take a look at Apple. So again, right here. So you can see large blocks of volume of it being traded. But again, this split right here, so it's kind of finicky. But if you look again, this is actually a good chunk. And because I'm doing the weekly. So for the longest time since July to March, I could draw my support and resistance lines. I mean, it's looking like kind of right here, because there's a lot of volume right here. Then it's starting to kind of trickle downwards. Do you want to draw your trend line down there, or get an idea of where your support is? That's totally fine. That is completely up to you. I just look for where it's like larger, because then I can get kind of an idea where like a lot of people or a lot of trading is going on compared to small amounts. So like if I were to draw this, I'd kind of pick like right around there. Now, as you can see, okay, it's being bought, but very, 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 very low. So maybe like in this area. Again, this is just to help you look and see where the volume is occurring at the price. So if I look if I look right here, so like at this bar, some people bought it like whatever that is, like 138. More people bought it right here at roughly like 129. A lot of people bought or sold at this point right here. That's the bad part about Thinkorswim is it doesn't show you like the colors. So you can't tell if there's more buying versus more selling. You'd have to look at the volume on that. But with that, I kind of want to go over VWAP next. But does anyone want to give another example and look at it and then kind of go about it? Or are there any questions with that? Just let me know, and I'll draw how I would draw this. So I just kind of like to pick right there. Oops. And I'd kind of pick, I mean, you can just do any one, it doesn't really matter. But so Colton asked what platform was it when I'm using the one that had red and green? That's Street Smart Edge. That's through Schwab. That's what's nice about this. And then you can also, I think you can, oops, sorry, I'm really messing this one up. You can change these to look differently. It's just been a while since I've done it. Let me volume at price. So see number of bars, I can change it to 30. Then you can see more. That's what's kind of cool. It's hard to find a broker that can do all the cool stuff. Like see, I did 50 now. But so Palantir is a little bit different because it's a newer company. But if I were to do like Apple again, you can see a lot more stuff of buying versus selling. So kind of like looking at this bar right here, 127, there was a lot of people buying. Right down here, a lot of people buying. And then you can see the tip, a lot of sells. So why is there not data in between some of these? It could just be that, you know, with the how fast it's moving, it just didn't get it. Because this could have been a really quick, oh wait, no, this is daily. That I don't know. I don't know why that there's things like that. It could just be a software issue. I'm not sure. With the WeBull, I don't know what it's called. It was order book, I think. Order book would be time of sales. Oh, okay, I'm getting that confused. But yeah, so I was told on Fidelity it's called price volume distribution. So kind of like here's my thing is if you just don't know what it is, just Google like volume by price and then type in, you know, Fidelity or Merrill Lynch or whatever broker you are, and then you'll probably get a good clue on what that is. That's the kind of crappy thing about this indicator is it's called different things with different brokers, which kind of sucks because it's not used as much, but I think it's a really good tool. It's just a lot of people don't use volume as much to look at some stuff. I mean, a lot of people do, but you know, people that don't understand what volume is, that could be that's one of the issues. So, but kind of moving on to a more common indicator. So, let me get back to this. Is VWAP. It's very similar to the simple moving average, but it's basically the volume weight average price. That's what VWAP stands for. It's depending on your broker. That's what when we deal with volume, it gets kind of finicky because different brokers use different formulas and things like that. But the concept is still there. It's similar to the Bollinger Bands or SMA, but it tracks the volume and price, and it's to determine if it's above or below the average volume with respect to price. So when I say respect to price, it kind of what it does is it calculates like a simple moving average. So like, you know, it'll take the close of the last, you know, let's say if it was the SMA 50, it would take the last 50 days. However, it adds in the volume to then make it a percentage, kind of like a ratio. So if you had, so for example, if you had like 10 million volume one day, but then 2 million volume another day, so one day, 2 or whatever, it will calculate the ratio and then give you a line. And that can really help because it can show you, is it trading below what it should kind of be at, or is it trading above? A lot of big companies, big brokers, they try and sell below the VWAP. And the reason why is because they don't want it to seem like there's a lot of trending going on, or there's going to be a dump going on. And that's where you can see this and kind of be like, okay, this is really high up, but it's underneath the VWAP at the time. So that could be a sign to where there could be a major sell-off, or it could be that, you know, it wants to keep going. I'll use WeBull. Oh wait, WeBull's not working. That's why it got kind of sucky today, because like the VWAP wasn't working, so I didn't know why. But let me remove this stuff. I should probably just have a class on doing stuff with Thinkorswim. But remove study. So let me just get rid of this stuff. Sorry. It's just sometimes it just takes time to get all this stuff out. So we'll just use, we'll just go back to our good old friend Palantir. And I'm going to go to the daily. So I was on the week right now. So I'm going to go to my studies, add study, and this is on WeBull. Just for whatever reason, WeBull, it's not working. With Thinkorswim, it is a little different, and I'll show you, because it calculates deviations, just as we talked about Bollinger Bands, which also can give you an idea of where a support and resistance are. My advice, though, is don't have VWAP and Bollinger Bands on, because it's going to look really weird. Because again, it's like I was saying earlier, sometimes there's just too much data. But like if it's, you know, if it's not a trading time, so, you know, like right now is a good time, you can kind of switch in between. That's what's nice about Thinkorswim, is you can have study set, and Charles Schwab, E-Trade, like all the big brokers, they have it. I know even WeBull has it too. And you can just load different things that have different indicators on them. But if I just add the VWAP, we can get an idea of how this is trading. What am I doing? Study, all studies, VWAP. So let me change this. It's a little weird. I don't know why it's doing it like that.
So Palantir is a great option. Can we look at something like the Palantir is a little more predictable, I guess? Can we look at some of these Reddit crazes like GameStop or something, where the volume didn't match the price?
Say it one more time, because my headphone it didn't pick
Testing
it up.
1 2.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Can we look at one of the like meme stocks like GameStop, because it really kind of shows the power of this indicator, because it doesn't align nearly as closely as like a Palantir or an Apple or something like that.
Okay, are you talking about the VWAP or the one we were just talking about?
The VWAP.
Okay. So if I add study, VWAP. So again, it's super finicky, but when you look at the volume over price, generally if something's trading above what the price is, you'll likely see a sell-off. So GameStop's a really good example, because this thing just kept going up, made like a little M right there. So looking at this though, it's kind of weird. It does follow a similar thing to the SMA, but let me go back to something more normal, so it doesn't look all finicky like this, because it does calculate the days prior. But looking more on Palantir, again, this is the daily. Kind of what you would use this for is a good entry point, not necessarily a good exit point, but kind of again, what it does is it's similar to the moving average, but it puts weight into perspective. So if I kind of then now change it back to like a 15-minute, so see, you see all some weird stuff. So, but now the one thing is when you use VWAP, if you notice, all these go straight and then converge to the first time. It's reset every starting of the trading day, which is at 2 a.m. my time. So it would be 4 a.m. Eastern time. So that's why you see these weird little things. But again, it's the same stuff. You look at the middle line, just like with the Bollinger Bands. So that's kind of like your midpoint. So if something keeps going below, that's showing that there's likely a sell-off. But if it tests it, then that would mean a good entry point. So what you would do at the time, so this is all weird because there was a huge spike. But as you can see, there was a lot of volume down here, and that's why it's calculated to that. So the kind of the thing that you want to look for is if it's testing it or if it's around it. So this point right here, the volume and the price, it's tested it multiple times. Yeah, it went past it, but you see these little wicks. Those could just be when there are just a lot of people getting into it. But if you see, it's tested it in terms of the closing time multiple times on the average. So what this could mean right here is this is a bullish trend. It's trying to get it. I'm sorry, bearish. It's trying to get past it, but just too many people are selling off when they got to that. So what could have happened is people bought it at like 23 or whatever it was a couple of days ago, and now they're trying to take profits. Or the same thing with the institutions. So let me bearish trend possible. But if you see as it's starting to go downwards, yeah, the volume it's in that little bubble, but then it tests it multiple times at this point. So since it tested it a couple of times, this could be a good time to get in. Again, at this time, we know now it would have been a good time to get in, but it could have still meant bearish. That's why, again, you have to use other indicators with it as well, like the MACD, the moving average, because it does look different with the moving average than the volume one. That's really all there is to say about it. Is it calculates the price with volume, with respect to volume, and then it kind of gives you an idea of where it will likely touch, on a midpoint. So the midpoint is kind of like, think of it like the next level. If it passes that, then it's likely going to be a bull trend. But if you can see from the beginning of the day, it has hit it multiple times, kind of like that midpoint. It's hit it, but it keeps going downwards. That's why this bubble keeps changing. It hits the support, tries to go up, but it can't hit it. But on the first 15 minutes, that's where most of the volume happens. So it was kind of going both ways. But then again, tested it, tried to hit it, hit the support. Excuse me. But it didn't hit the support for a long time. So if you were a day trader, this would have, but then again, if I were seeing these giant trends going downwards, I may not have got in for this stock. I probably would have looked for something else or just shorted it. Now, would I have shorted it when it hits there? Probably not. I wouldn't have done that. I probably would have waited for it to hit, the purple. Now, that's the thing with day trading is, you could get in at a bad price. You may not. This could have been another thing where, hey, I want to get into Palantir today. Not sure when I want to do it. I could do a buy trailing stop at maybe, the range that it usually trades at is $1. So maybe set it at 50 cents. So if I did that kind of with my example that I said last time, you probably would have gotten in around here, but then it went down. So, that's up to you. Volume indicators are kind of, like I was saying before, they're a little more finicky than others, but it's a good tool. Now, can you trade all on volume? I'd be careful on that, but generally it's kind of like that herd mentality where If you see one person doing it, then 2 people are doing it, then 10 people are doing it, then you want to get in. But then that could also be a pump and dump type of situation. So you can use that too to kind of analyze that stuff. So yeah, so that's kind of all there is with that. But yeah, going with that with VWAP, are there any questions on that? That's really all there is with the VWAP. Other brokers, their VWAP may not have these bubbles. It may just actually be just one line. What's nice about Thinkorswim is it gives you some outcomes of what could happen past the deviations, kind of like your support and resistance based on volume and price. Now, if I were to say, what would you choose, Bollinger Bands or VWAP? That's a tough call. They're kind of the same thing. If I were to add Bollinger Bands on this, it's pretty close. I'll show you. It's pretty close. Let me erase this. So you can see, you know, the VWAP in this sense was a little bit more accurate. It does give you larger things, because when you deal with Bollinger Bands and other things, it doesn't take into account volume. It treats that kind of as a constant. So a constant meaning it's all the same. So I guess maybe to answer my question is, I would maybe choose VWAP to get an idea of support and resistance compared to Bollinger Bands. But again, I would just use other indicators as well to kind of help guide me. But yeah, so a little bit early or shorter class because WeBull doesn't have some of the stuff that I wanted to show you. It was kind of getting you guys into seeing trend lines, drawing them, finding zones, doing things like that. But yeah, we can look at some other things. I can look at some other, so we'll go back to GameStop, but just with anyone else, if there's any questions, you can type, or there's only 11 people in here. So, I mean, if you want to unmute, you're more than welcome to. There's not going to be a cluster of people talking. Or you can throw some stocks out. We can look at the VWAP on that. It's up to you guys.
Do we have a second to help me understand order book?
Yeah, we can do that. Okay, so you're gonna have to help me out with WeBull.
It's just a widget. So there's like a little 3-dot thing that I don't see on your chart. Is it at the bottom? There's like, how would you add, like, when you want to see something like a chart, like a widgets? There you go. Yeah. We want a new widget. And we want order book. There you go. And then there's like level 1 and level 2.
Okay, so when
that's level 1. And then if you go to the little 3 dots beside level 1, you may be able to change it to level 2. Because level 2 is much more information. The 3 dots there, like to the top right hand. There you go. No, never mind.
So, okay, so when you're dealing with order book, and then also Josh, it says, look, I saw ATNX, and then Jason, I saw UWMC. So in order book, when you deal with level 1, level 2, that's not necessary. That does tell you volume and price, but it tells you the at the time. So it's kind of like if you were to take and kind of like with the car situation and the auctions, the order book is kind of being able to gaze upon, like, okay, 200 people want to buy it at this price, like for $10, but 200 want to buy it for $10.05. So that can give you an idea when you look at the level 2 data of where people are trying to buy and sell things, because it'll show you left and right, or buy or bid, BS, bids, or BS and then AS, bid sale, ask sale. It's something like that. It's B and A. So when you look at that, obviously the higher up you go, it's going to get smaller, but it can give you an idea of what's going on at that time, like at that specific time. You're not you're not going to see the order book. Well, I can see an order book live right now. If I were to actually go to trading futures, so order book would kind of be like time and sale, or if I go to level 2, this is kind of like the order book. So like right now, I know 2 people, and this is changing because this is trading right now, but right now, you know, it moves so fast. That's the problem with NASDAQ. Let me go slower. So this is S&P 500. So I know 37 people want to buy this at 38.06. And then I know 44 people want to sell it at 38.11. So that can give you an idea of where things are going on that. The problem is that this stuff moves so quickly. Like you really need a computer to calculate all this, like to take in, you know, all the changes, and then it can kind of give you a bigger picture. But if you're looking like on a larger perspective and you see like the lows and highs, like, because you can go as high and low as you want on some of the stuff. Like for example, if I go to active trader, similar to what we were talking about, actually pretty dang close, but you can see these are where things are going. So if you have a broker that has a DOM or a depth of market or an active trader, you can see. So you can see up here, there's a lot of people in terms of their bid and asks that want to hit this price, and then nothing. So seeing that, actually just seeing this information, there's a lot of people that want this to go up. So I wouldn't be surprised if the market, well, this is S&P right now, it's only down 9 points, but I wouldn't be surprised if this hits up to where this needs to go. So that's another 10 points. So you can use that kind of like the volume by price, you know, because you can see that. Then there's another thing, but this is kind of where I'm focusing on right now because that's where it's at. So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and then Josh says ATNX. Okay. Oh, earnings. Okay. So I don't know what is Athenix. Okay. So if I actually were to, let's add the, so I'm going to do the volume by price first, or the volume profile. Let's actually do the day. Okay, so it's showing this range, but because, you know, it's taking into account all of this stuff, I would, if I were to draw a trend line just based on what we were learning, this started to go downwards. Because see, even here, this is still a lot, but right here, so I would say right here would be a good trend line to draw. And as you can see, oh wow, real nice and pretty. It hit it, went down, hit it down, hit it down. Now, there can be some gaps, and now it starts to fall further downwards. You can go down here, but I try and match it where it's kind of like mirrored, so kind of like right here in terms of size, because if you can see the size, it's pretty similar. That's a pretty good support line. So unfortunately with this, earnings did play a toll on it going downwards. But so that's what kind of sucks about this one, is because it's right in the middle. So we don't know where it's going to go. It looked like it was doing pretty, it had bad earnings. So it's going to be down for a little bit. Oh, wow. It went from, it went from 12 to 4. Why did it do that? I would like to know. I don't know what this company is, so I'd have to look into it. But it looks like, from what it's been doing, is it was building hype upwards, because as you can see, there was a lot of volume at these times. Then the volume started to really trickle down, and then just wanted to dip. So this could have been a pretty good ploy by the big guys with a lot of shares to get hyped up, probably knowing something that we don't know, that shoots down. That's my guess. Just looking at just looking at by volume. I know Jason said UWMC. Oh boy. Okay. It's good. These are challenging. That's what's good. This is all over the place. What is this? UWM Holdings Corp. No idea what this is. This I trade different stuff, so I'm sorry guys, I don't know all the stocks. But so oh boy, how would I do this? Okay. So this is the most right here. It's starting to go down. I mean, it's got some weird finicky motions on this. I'd actually follow Thinkorswim kind of like right there. I mean, it's up to you. You know, you can go here because then again, it wants to go up again, but then it shoots down. So this looks pretty solid right there. But here's the problem: is this thing is all over the place. Is this a meme stock? Like, are people targeting this? I don't know. Because like in one day, this thing shot. This is weird. It's actually kind of neat to look at. So I went down to a 15-minute just to get a better idea. So I guess a good example is this. There looks like there was a lot of hype for this. Looks like a pump and dump, because as you can see, most of the volume was right here for the last week, and even like if you look at it, you know, it hit here, it hit there, like in terms of a resistance line, support line. I mean, the lowest, yeah, but it's been trading more right here in that respect, even back there. So see how it's so actually this is a pretty good example. See how it's just kind of going all over the place. The volume's lower, but then it's building upwards. Well, you would think if with that volume going up like that, and then knowing it's normally like that, you would think it's going to go downwards, but it didn't. So see right here, there was similar amounts of more volume than even went right there. So that could then confirm that you're at a bullish trend. A bullish trend, and it just keeps going up. Then there's a lot of volume. So, but however, you have to take into account this bar right here also takes into account all this stuff right here. But here's what's weird. Now, see, these bars, they only show you the data that you have on the graph, even with Schwab. So looking at this, see how this is small volume? Like it's all blocked pretty similar. But look at this. Goes up, and then that right there, that would have had, if I were paying attention just to volume itself, seeing that right there, I would say, nope, that's a pump. I think Arcadia is a pump and dump. Oh, wow. Didn't know it did that. So if I just did the 15, so see how, it was up here. Let me actually go to the hour. Oh, wow. No. Actually, I would say this is what's a pump and dump, what a pump and dump looks like. I know on our newsletter, we talked about it being a good stock that could go up, but here's a good example. Notice that this volume, look how high this is going. So it could be a couple of things. One is people are holding on to it and waiting to just dump it because they know something's happening, because most of the trading volume is right here in between. I'm using Thinkorswim's in between 4.22 or $4.22 and $2.51. So, but the volume is so low. And then look what happened. Shoots all the way down. Then it gets back to normal trading range. So that's just another example, kind of going in, looking at the UWMC. Because that volume is so low. Now this was back obviously in January, but just constant drop. And then the volume, even when looking at the volume was low for down here, but then it shot back down. So what I think may happen is, let's go back to its normal trading range. Is this a new stock? Yes. Okay, that's why. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, this I would have to look in to see what this is. Oh, and I see it talks about Wall Street Bets in the news section on this. So they may have targeted this. I don't, because if you look down at just the volume right here, like actual volume, this thing was trading at like literally nothing in terms of volume. Then all of a sudden you get these huge spikes. Well, this could have been from news because that's back in December, but right here was Wall Street. Oh, they are doing a dividend. Generally, dividend. A common tactic is after you get your dividend, which 10 cents for a $9.62 stock. I could see this dipping, and then there'll be re-entry in. So I'm doing the week. Yeah, I'd have to look into more of why it's doing that. That's just weird. But hopefully that helps for Jason, and hopefully Josh, that helps too. Looking at the ATNX. We're past 7, but I don't mind looking at more if you guys want me to look at some stuff. Oh yeah, no problem. We're trying to figure out better logistics on this. We're thinking about going on to Twitch, and literally me just sitting here like 10 hours a day, not 10 hours a day, but but looking at this. Since he's Zom. So I'll do the daily. So okay, so seeing this, using what we learned today, again, this can show you support and resistance. It can also kind of just show you like the psychological aspect of the stock. So like if you think about it, if this stock, it's normally was trading for a long time just within like what 37 cents and 15 cents. So that was just normal trading. I mean, if you see right there, that was normal trading for the longest time. Probably some news came out about this thing, because this is, and now it starts to trade. So see, even right here, it traded in this zone, which almost matches what that is. But now look, there's a smaller amount of volume, and it's fluctuating the crap out of this thing. So what it could mean is one of two things: is it's a pump and dump, or people are trying to get the price up, and then dump it, or the majority of people that bought these stocks down here are likely waiting to see where this thing's going to go. So it's kind of like when we're looking at that stuff, it's kind of hard to tell if we can use it as a pump and dump, a support and a resistance. There's just it's a good tool to see, because then you can get a bigger picture on, okay, where's a lot of this stuff coming? Like where's the volume at? So with this, I know we've seen this before. I think this was talked. I think Ryan talked about this. I don't remember, but so yeah, this is low volume for these prices. So it's kind of like set a trailing stop maybe, or a stop loss, because you don't know where this is going to go. And I'm just looking at just using this. I will put all the things together, all the indicators together, but I want to just get our heads around the volume stuff first before we do anything else. Excuse me. So yeah. So, are there any other ones we want to look at just with volume? Oh yeah, no problem, Timothy. TRCH, is that torch? Earnings on 315. Okay, so again, very, very similar. Oh, okay, that's probably why. I was like, I've seen this before. If you look right here, look at most of this volume was just back in the day. Like, these people, it's just people were just trading it normally, or institutions were. Now it's starting to see a slow increase. So like kind of like right there, start slowing, merger. Okay, merger news. But then see right here, it's just blocks. So, but then it shot downwards. So kind of if you see this zone right here, it looks like that's where it's trading at right now. So that would be a good support and resistance. So right now it looks like it's starting to go down to support. So again, but I don't know about the merger news, if it's good or bad, excuse me, which is probably why this has been red the last 3 days, but it really isn't that bad though. So you would have to kind of look more into the merger. If the company, if the company is being acquired, or if it's acquiring another company that can take on more debt, takes on their problems too, or they're giving their problems away to someone else. So that's where you have to also kind of do your DD that we talked about. Look at the news, look and see what's going on with that stuff. But it looks like, just kind of based on this stuff, because if you can see, this is kind of like a little wave. Most of it was down here, but I would ignore that stuff because it hasn't hit that in a long time. It was trading right there for a little bit, but it seems like this is where a lot of the volume's occurring as of like right now. So could it go further down? Yeah, it could. Could it go further up? It's showing like it could too. I kind of want to kind of see some stuff. So if you can see, I just wanted to see for myself. It's been touching. So this is the Bollinger Band that I'm looking at right now. It has been testing that moving average right there, but it's tested it a lot though. So, and also the MACD is showing it's going downwards, even though it's hitting there. But MACD, again, it's a shorter time frame from here. So if it tests it, but it goes past this, it will likely go further down. Even though the moving average, but this is 50 days though, but it's taking into account all these small bits. So if I change it, let's actually change it to like, yep, that's what I thought. So I changed the moving average to 10 days. It's going downwards is what it's looking like. See how how it tested the 10-day moving average 3 times? Hold on, guys. So it's looking like it wants to go down, just kind of like what I was saying before about how it's been testing this, or the 20-day, because Bollinger Band says 20 days. So I'm going with, it's looking like it wants to go down, but if the merger news is good, because again, it's like people sell if they don't know, kind of like you're always afraid of what you don't understand, because you don't want it to be like bad news and then the stock goes down more. That's what I'm thinking is happening, because even looking at the 10-day moving average, see right here, it tested it twice, but then again it tested the the 20-day, but it's testing. I'm sorry, this is testing the 20-day. This is testing the 10-day though. So it's looking like it's consolidating, but then when it consolidates again, we don't know which way it's going to go. So yeah. So yeah, it's 7:15 now. We are having, I'm doing another class on Sunday. This one's going to be a little bit different, just for the 9 of you that are in here. I'm talking about futures, which that is a tradable product. WeBull does not offer it. You need a a big broker or a broker that specializes in futures, this is the, like, if you were to say, what is it? They're one that's really risky, but if you just read the charts on those products, that can give you a really good insight of what's going on with the market, because you start trading on Sundays, and it doesn't stop. So, but it's super risky. But I was just gonna kind of have a casual conversation on it. But yeah, so if you liked what you saw, just if you want to subscribe to the newsletter, I don't have the MailChimp link, but I know if you just go on our group forum or our group, we have that link. But yeah, if there's nothing else, hopefully you guys have a good Wednesday and happy trading tomorrow. And I know we there was a huge dump today, so right at like 1 or 15 minutes before market. But yeah, no problem, Colton. I'm always here. If you have any other questions, you guys just DM me. More than happy to help. So with that, you guys have a good night, and I'll talk to you guys later. So,
Appreciate you. Good night.
Yep. All right. Good night. Bye-bye.